thank you all for meeting today, even though it's not a regularly scheduled PLC day. I appreciate you all cooperating with me and coming to listen to what I had to say about my project. I'm excited about it. I do want to remind you that I'm filming, so it's confidential, but this is going to be on YouTube, so don't mention any kids' names. If we can have discussions, but just don't mention any kids' names. And Ms. Worley, would you care to read the first grade mission statement?
Sure. The mission of the first grade team is to provide a positive and safe learning environment where students can build the foundation and gain the confidence needed to become
third,
successful
fourth, and fifth grade
lifelong
teachers
learners.
send the academic students to meet me in front of the gym? Third, fourth, and fifth grade teachers, the list I sent you this morning. Thank you.
So part of my master's program, I'm almost finished, I've got 2 weeks left, is one of the last classes I've had to take is a PLC leadership class. And I have really enjoyed it because it's allowed me to do some research in my classroom and apply it to my classroom and not just, you know, scenarios that they've given me. It's something I actually got to do. And so I'm excited to share it with you all, which you all are aware, because we work so well together, you all are aware of the things that we've been doing and we've worked together. But I've kind of looked at the data a little bit closer and analyzed it. And I think that I'm excited to show you the data. It was really interesting to me. So what I did my action research project over was using learning records to guide instruction in first grade. And you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Oh, okay, go to the next one. The part one, there's 2 parts to this. Part one is the classroom action research, and the second part is the PLC, which you all helped me do the survey. So this is the introduction, and this is just telling a little bit about our school and what I was going to introduce in my topic. So our school does benchmark testing 3 times a year for Qantas and Pinnell to assess students on reading levels. We needed a resource in first grade that gave us a concrete answer of when a student was ready to move to the next level, because if we just waited for those benchmark tests, there's a lot of area in between there where we, you know, need to know when is it we can move on instead of waiting for that test. After discussing with the reading recovery teachers and the first grade team, we found that the best practice showed to be a running record every 2 weeks on every child. And we decided to implement the running records bi-weekly across the grade level to provide consistency for all students. And we thought this was a great way to keep track of students' growth and to guide our instruction to be more specific for each child's needs. So that's the introduction to my project. The purpose would be to build successful and confident readers, monitor students' decoding strategies that are being used, and to create next steps for each child based on their individual assessments. And I had to find 3 articles that supported my research. And this is kind of what I did before I started all of the data collection and all of that. And I just kind of looked up some of the things about running records, which we all are familiar with running record, but I want to go a little bit deeper with it. And so I found a few articles that I thought were helpful. The first one was just titled Running Records, and I have a copy of it there for you all. And some of the key points from it that I thought were interesting was, running records, they help us to monitor student progress, plan for their future, provide a way for students to understand their progress, and communicate to parents and school community. So it's not just something that you do just to find their level. It's all aspects. It's a form of communication, a form of feedback, for the child and the parents, and something for you to monitor and plan your next steps. It was suggested in there that we administer it during centers to be the most time efficient, which I know when we first started talking about doing running records, that was one thing we were worried about, was how can we do that for every child every 2 weeks? That seems like an impossible task, but we implement it in our centers. We have it on Fridays where we have it built in, and it's worked out nicely, and that was good to, that article supported that also. And then what I really dug deep into was the queuing systems, which, we always see on the running records over on the side of the MSB. And I was talking to Marie about that earlier. Like, I always saw that and was like, I don't know what that is. I'm just going to ignore it, just mark the errors and go on. But this project really helped me dig deeper into that, and it really has made me grow as a teacher. And I think it's been beneficial to my students too that I did that. But the M stands for meaning, and that's when they look at the picture. to make sense of the unknown word. You know, they're connecting it with what the picture means, or what the picture looks like. They're using their eagle eyes, we would tell them. Structure is asking yourself, did that sound right, or does that make sense? And visual is looking at the beginning of the word. So if you want to read the article, it goes a little bit more into that. That's just kind of the highlights. The next article is one I could not get it to print right. It was printing all funky, so I don't have it for you all, but I will email you all the link to it. And it went deeper into it was just about the miscue analysis, which is the MSV that I was just talking about. And what it was saying was it takes your running records to the next level. Instead of just assessing the level that they're at, it gives you insight into what strategies they're using and what you can do next for them. What do they need to improve? And it gives you a chance to build an individualized plan instead of just, like I said, just saying, well, you're on level J now, you know, you're on level J and you need to work on your, you know, using the structure and strategy. Does that sound right? Does that look right? Miscue analysis can be time consuming, which I have found that is true. It can be time consuming to sit down and do that for every single error that they make. But it is suggested that you try to do it on every child. It is not suggested, that you do it on every child every time. It suggests that you do it on your struggling readers first. So right now I have the data would be shown on the blue group, which is like they're above grade level or right at grade level or above. So they're not necessarily what you would call or consider struggling readers, but I chose the ones out of that group that were struggling to do my data analysis on. Because it can be time consuming to do that for every error. And then the next article, I do have that printed out for you, is 7 tips for managing running records. And some of the tips I thought were helpful were create a schedule, which is what we did. We, every Friday at our center, we know that we're going to be doing running records. The kids know that; they know the expectation. Understand the cue system and what they mean. So that's what I'm going to go into a little bit more later. Is that cueing sheet. Provide immediate feedback when you're doing the running record. Don't just say, okay, you're done doing the record. Put it to the side. Have a conversation with the child right then about their errors and the notes that you noticed or wrote down about what they were doing. Keep a data notebook, which our students keep their own notebook. So that already worked out good. We already had that implemented. They can keep track of it in their other levels in their notebook, but we also keep a notebook with our running records for us. Evaluate the strategies being used, so that kind of goes into that miscue analysis again. And setting goals with the students, which I've tried to be good about, especially in math this year. And this is kind of maybe a little more purposeful with reading. When I have conversations with the kids, this is what you're doing. Here's what you're doing well. Here's what you need to do next. This is the goal that we want you to be at. In the first grade, you got to be at a J. What are you going to do to get there? So, having those conversations is important. There's my reference page. So my research question was, will students' reading levels and strategies significantly improve if running records are consistently implemented on each child? And I'll share my data with you. The justifications of this research was that students in first grade are held accountable for moving 6 reading levels, which is a lot, more than any other grade level. And that can be scary to think about. It can be difficult to keep track of every kid where they're at because they all come to us at different levels. Some of them fly to 3rd grade level, some of them are still stuck on kindergarten. It can be difficult to keep track of. So we needed something to, make sure that we're keeping track. We needed something to determine what strategies students are using in order to guide instruction. And we needed to keep a close eye on their reading levels to allow us to differentiate their reading groups. You can go to the next slide. So I chose 10 first grade students out of my group. They're ages 6 to 7, 5 boys and 5 girls. The students are flexibly grouped amongst the grade level. So it wasn't just my homeroom kids, it was kids from other classes also. And right now they're working above or right at first grade reading level. We used FP benchmark testing to get baseline data for students. We had reading A to C subscription, which luckily has the running records on there that we really liked, and we decided to go with that. in first grade, we used a running record calculator to figure out their percentage rate, error rate, self-correction rate. And then we have a running record rubric that we use to determine if they are on an independent, instructional, or hard reading level. So we use a reading A to Z running records every Friday for running records for students. This is bi-weekly. Every student gets one every 2 weeks. They are assessed. They assess their reading level based on ability to decode text, and a rubric is used to score the assessment. Errors are marked based on strategy, meaning, structure, or visual. Anecdotal notes are taken about next steps that need to be made for each child. And the first grade team communicates regularly in our PLCs about where each child is. Where we have each other's kids, we have to make sure that we are communicating and letting each other know when a kid is moving on. Plus we get really excited about it. We normally are like, so-and-so moved to the next level, and send out texts or whenever it happens and make a big deal about it. So that's how we collected our data. There's a sample of what the running records look like that we used. And they're just a printable book. And the sheets are printable. It's very easy and self-explanatory to use. Now here's my data. So this is my baseline data, which I took at the beginning of this course. And at the beginning of this course. And you can see that most of the students were on G or an H. This was about 6 weeks ago now. G or an H. And their accuracy rate was about all of them were on instructional level there. This shows their error rate, but what I really wanted to look at was the self-correction rate. I only had one kid that was making self-corrections. So what this data told me was that students are already working at expected level, because G or H at that time was expected level. But we would like to see students working at a higher self-correction rate. Are they fixing their mistakes? Are they, what strategies are they using? Because it felt like they weren't using their structure strategy. They were just relying too much on the meaning and the visual. Oh wait, go back. I have one more thing there. And I said that I would like to see students reach at least one level higher in the period of the 5 weeks that I collected this data. Go ahead and go to the next one. So then I looked at the miscues from each of those running records. And 50% of the students were using meaning, which means they were just looking at the picture to try to figure out the word. 20% were using structure, and 30% were using visual, which means they were looking at the beginning chunk. It's good if they were using a strategy. They weren't, for the most part, they weren't just waiting on me to tell them something. They were trying something, but they were relying really heavily on looking at the picture and looking at the beginning sound. So I noticed that I need to concentrate my instruction on the structure, getting them to self-correct. Are they thinking that didn't sound right, I need to go back and fix that, or that didn't look right, I need to try that again. So that's how I kind of determined what my next steps would be. And I also had those conversations with the students as well. Okay, you can go to the next slide. And then I looked at my anecdotal notes, and a lot of students were skipping the headings of the informational text. So that was something else I knew that I wanted to get in on my lessons, because that counts as a mistake. If they skip those headings, that counts as a mistake. And I don't think they realized what they were, and they needed to be brought up. Many students were reading at a slow pace, which doesn't cause errors, but it does affect their comprehension and their fluency. And a few students were not trying strategies. So I did have a couple that were not trying strategies. When they would get to a word, they would just stop. But if they're already at a G or an H, they should be trying some kind of strategy. They shouldn't just be sitting there with nothing, no strategy in mind to try. This is my final data. H, I, and J, and most of those were on independent or instructional. And you can see that the self-correction rate got a lot better. 8 out of 10 students increased by 1 reading level in 5 weeks. 2 out of 10 students increased by 2 reading levels in 5 weeks. And the self-correction rate drastically improved and now they are monitoring themselves more closely. I was excited about that. And here's the breakdown of the miscues on the final running records. 20% reusing the visual, 45% reusing structure, and 35% reusing, 20% reusing meaning, 45% reusing structure, and 35% reusing visual. So a lot more increase on the structure, which is what I was pinpointing my instruction on, getting them to self-correct and think that doesn't sound right or that doesn't look right, and really monitor their reading. I think it made it evident that by pinpointing the gap in student errors, we were able to significantly improve students' self-monitoring skills and reading levels. Although the meaning was still being used, it decreased by over half. So, and it is still a strategy to use, it's not like it's frowned upon, but we want them definitely to start monitoring themselves more. So, I was happy with that. Next steps for my RQ would be, we decided that we are, and the reading recovery teachers are going to participate in a book study over the summer with the next steps in guided reading. But I need some other suggestions from y'all. What do y'all think our next steps should be?
More training on running record analysis.
Yeah,
I think that would be
because we did that with the reading team,
more.
but we didn't do that, overall with everybody. So that's a good suggestion. Do that miscue analysis training with, especially the primary teachers, I think.
Yeah, big influence on how we group our kids. I'm not saying there's a few that we're all like, well, should they go here, should they go
Yeah,
here?
that's true. Yeah, because there's some kids that are kind of like bubble, like they're like right in the middle of being in one group or the other group, and we're like, oh, I don't know how. But that would be, you could look at that and say, well, these kids are all on the age, but they're really struggling with their structure. These kids are all on the age, but they're struggling with the meaning. We could sort them even a little bit
Right.
more filtered.
Even though they're on the same level, it's just that,
Yeah.
you pinpoint the specific needs and then you can group accordingly with that. And,
Yeah.
adjust your standards
Within your
too.
room, like I've got this, middle group in my room, so my room records show me that this group needs to focus on meaning, this group needs to
Yeah.
focus on structure of word. Yeah.
That's true, isn't it?
And beyond just first grade team, I'm really pleased that both classified and certified will be participating in that, because we
Yeah.
have some, the paraeducators or the special education paraeducators that are going to be supporting the work that you're doing. They're going to have the same language, they're going to be
Yeah.
looking at the same thing, and so when you're talking about, well, is it structure, is it meaning, is it visual, they're going to understand what you're talking about and be able to maybe give you some information anecdotally that you're not gonna be able to always get.
Yeah, that's true. And how many times did they come, to us and say, we're free right now, do you need this?
Do you need anything?
And we can say, this kid missed Friday on running record, can you do a running record? And they'd be able to do it. That'd be awesome.
And understand what they're doing and what that looks like.
Yeah,
What to say, what not to say, as far as guiding them too much.
Yeah. almost forgot. This is a little cheat sheet that I gave y'all, and I still have to look at this quite a bit.
Mhm.
I don't, I had to remind myself, but I really like it, and I keep it in my running record binder, and it kind of just gives you an example of what each of those errors can mean. Look at the next sheet. This is a running record that I did, and I did the miscue analysis for this child. Just if you're looking at that, what do you notice about her? What do you think her next steps will be? And you can use your cheat sheet if you need to. But she does look like check marks, but they're V's. I just have not nice handwriting sometimes, especially when I'm doing running records. On the second page, over here on this error,
Oh.
you're right.
Oh, okay, now
Right there.
I see what you're talking about.
Some of that meaning will take care of those, if they're making a lot of visual errors, because, like in number 8, long ago, some veggies had a castle in the corner.
Yeah.
Asking, now, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do veggies have a castle?
Yeah.
Especially if they're, and it depends on how much work you've done with that and what the title said and how much background knowledge she had, or if you
This is one
gave
of my
her.
baseline data running records, it was from back in February. But, yeah, she was definitely not using any structure at all.
Well, she's
Because
not
like you
thinking-
said, veggies, that, does a
That
veggie
doesn't
have a
make
castle in the
sense.
corner? That doesn't make sense.
She's not thinking about the story
Yeah.
either. You know?
She was relying a lot on the visual, she was getting the beginning sound, right. Like she said, room for ring. But that one kinda makes sense. The house is shaped like a room. I mean, that's not as bad as veggies.
Yeah, having a castle.
And I don't know if you noticed, but she kept missing the headings.
Mhm.
And then the next one I was gonna let you all score. Put me on the spot. I did this one last week, 2 weeks ago. And I purposely didn't analyze the errors because I was gonna let you all do it for this. Practice what I'm teaching you. Of course, Leanne, she's used to it. She's over there just scoring away.
I've not done it in so long, I have to think.
You can use your cheat sheet. I have to use it a lot.
Okay. She says grand, it's grandma. It could also be me.
Yeah, because it means the same thing.
And yeah, it can be more than one
Kind
if
of
you think
all
they use more than
says-
one strategy.
So she's so
all of them,
corrected.
yeah. I don't know what that means, I don't remember. I haven't done this in a while.
Teacher told.
Oh, I see now, teacher. Okay.
You can't do that for people. Yeah, they're not using their structure if you didn't tell them if they don't try something. It's just a line
But
through
if
it.
X, if they don't say the rest of the word, would that be linear structure? Or is it visual?
I think
Because she
most
just
of
paid
these
attention to the
issues
first.
are visual. I mean, the
Visual.
grandma and the granny
Yeah.
is all, you know, and then the X and trying to sound out these words, that's just visual. That's not meaning or structure or
Meaning for
anything.
the granny and then the rest.
The meaning would be hard to
I did
analyze
definitely
if you weren't watching him, don't you think?
This one, the grandma and the grandma, they're all, like she used all of them. Cause it started, it made sense. So she used all, you know, it's about a grandma, it's just a different word.
Let's just use the background knowledge. Nobody,
Yeah.
not a lot of people.
Right.
But that error wouldn't make it,
I
it
mean,
wouldn't
that's a
affect
good error.
comprehension,
Yeah.
You know, if
yeah.
you're gonna make an error, that's a good error.
Yeah. And don't you think it would be hard to, if you're not sitting here watching him do this running record, it would be hard to know if he's using meaning. Because you don't have the picture in front of you
Mhm.
to see if, is he looking up at that
That is
picture
true.
over and over. So that is a little bit difficult to judge there, but
I did like that self-correction.
Mhm.
Does
Yeah.
and don't.
and you know what he did there? He went on and then went back to it.
So he reread.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think the more you get used to doing this, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
It won't take much time for you to do the run record, MSB it, and then roll on to the next day. So it's just since we don't do every kid every day.
Yeah.
We've got 2 or 3 kids that will do in that one group and then.
I kind of just made it habit, and I just did it real quick right there. Now, I don't do like, I don't write MSB, and circle every one. I just write M if I see it, We all do it a little bit different, like I do it, like how you do it.
I'm trained
But-
old school, but I haven't done it in a while.
Well,
so I
they're,
can tell that
they're
I've not
trained more
used it in a
specifically
while.
every day.
Mhm. Yeah.
Reading recovery, but
One thing that I like about this too is if you're truly looking at each individual student, you could pull 5 or 6 in at a time and all of you look at it together and it will be a learning opportunity for everybody on your team, talking about each one of them, just like you would as a piece of student work.
yeah.
This is just a formative assessment.
It's just a good data analysis every once in a while, like every month or something.
Yeah.
We can do this, make sure we have MSV on every kid, a recent one, and then come together and talk about.
Especially our kids
Or
that
even
we're
if we can-
concerned about. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
Yes.
that are in the stat process.
Or even if we can do, right, because kids, once they get on a grade level or above, they start to get it, they start to just pick up on those strategies on their own. a
I think
lot.
it'd be good
But
to give
those
kids-
lower ones that are still not really equipped with strategies that they need, it would be good, definitely good to do them.
Well, I think too, it allows us to have those grade level conversations like we did at the beginning of the year. If we're seeing gaps from grade level to grade level, with 80% of the kids are using a certain strategy, and they're coming from kindergarten, then what all are they focusing on? What strategies are they having their kids work on? Especially since next year they're starting reading groups October the 1st. You know, flexible reading groups. They've started them earlier this year, but I'm talking about flexible reading groups. You know, if you see a large percentage of one strategy being used and nothing else, that helps us to look at our gaps.
Yeah, and
You know,
reflect on
from
your
team to
teaching
team,
too.
yeah, to
You
let
know,
them
what have I not,
reflect.
I've not been going over this strategy, I need to get that. That's what it did for me, I was like,
Mhm.
oh, God, we need to look at this.
I think
Self-monitoring.
that was really good what you did.
Yeah.
What you focused
I
on.
was happy about it, I was excited about it because it allowed me to, you know, see something that actually meant something to me. You
And it
know,
helped you
wasn't a
move
scenario.
your kids too.
Well,
Yeah.
the data showed they started self-correcting. They were being more intentional about using a different structure, or a different strategy, even though they were still using meaning, they were relying on something else more now.
Right. Yeah, it's just one tool in their tool belt, you know,
Mhm.
they need to have all of them on board.
If they're not using the structuring, then the self-corrections won't be there.
Right.
Because they're not listening and
They're
it'll
not
affect
listening to
their
themselves.
comprehension drastically, it'll help with that.
Alright, so I made notes of our next steps, and I'll add that to my slides, but I'm excited, especially if we can get everybody trained, I think that would be awesome. And I think that, like you were saying, that's gonna help us, you know, we're flexibly grouped, but how can we even more flexibly group that, flexibly group or flexibly groups?
And I
So-
like the information in the next steps guided book, but I do think this little, this is very easy, user friendly.
Yes. And you can just
So if
slide it
everybody
in
had a
your
copy,
running record, I keep it, I mean, I have to look at it.
Just a
You can read about it
reminder.
all day long, but if you just get yourself
Yeah, you have to
doing
just start
it,
practicing
give
it.
yourself more opportunity to practice it, that's what makes you better at it. 'Cause
Yeah.
When I first started, I was like, I don't know, is this, cause sometimes I second guess myself, because you're right,
It
some of
could
them
be.
can be all of them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So in this case, it's like.
Yeah, I think that's what I was confused about when I first started, was like, I can only pick one, but
Yeah.
then when we had that
You can
little
make
session,
all
you can
three,
pick all
but
three,
the
yeah.
error when they self-correct, that can only be one. Like,
Right.
what is the one thing that made them self-correct?
go back
Yeah.
and see. Okay, go to the next part. So here's my reflection, and we kinda already talked about this, but I saw a big difference in my students. They were aware that they were trying every 2 weeks to move to the next level. I think that they had that goal in mind, and I think that did help, and they would get excited, and they knew I was gonna tell their teacher. So I think it upped the motivation level too. By doing writing records, I was able to have evidence of my students' levels, not just a gut feeling like, I think they're ready to move on. Like, I know they're ready to move on. And when we go back to our next benchmark, students and teachers, I think will feel more confident about their reading levels. You know, like I said, you won't have to be like, I'm gonna start about here because I think that's where they're at. No, I know exactly where to start on this job. So my second part of my research project, was the PLC focus question, which you all helped me do. Thank you very much. And what I wanted to focus on was, what strengths and weaknesses did the mid-year PLC survey show for the first grade team and interventionists? And here's the participants for our PLCs, which has all of you lovely ladies listed, and Bobby and Erin, who aren't here today. And I think that's it. And the instrument that we used, if you remember, I emailed out that mid-year survey. It was 4 pages. And I just thought that would be best for our team because we had a bunch to choose from. And I think I emailed it to you too, didn't I? Because I thought it was really interesting. And we had a bunch to choose from, and she kind of said, think about where your PLCs are at right now. Some people in our class were like, they're not effective, like we don't have good PLCs going on. And some of us were like, yeah, we've got good PLCs going on. You know, I felt like this one was the best fit for us because it was a little over mid-year, but close enough to mid-year when we did it that I thought it would be effective and informative for our group. And the purpose of the survey was just to gather what's happening in our PLCs, what needs to happen, or maybe what's not happened, and to show our strengths and weaknesses. And reading recovery teachers completed as a pair, and first grade teachers completed as a group. Because the week that I sent it out, we were super swamped, and you can go on to the next one, can't you? And I said, just do it as a team, that way we can get some of this data in, because it was hard on everybody. This is what it looked like. It was really neat, because on the email, which I know you printed it out, but the first grade team, you could just click on it, and then they could just send it back to me. So that was neat. I thought it was convenient. You can go on to the next part. Go on. So to collect the data, I just emailed it out. You all got it back to me as you could, and Reading Recovery printed it off and brought me the results, and first grade team emailed it to me. It was simple, easy. Go on to the next slide. And the data analysis. Mid-year PLC used a rating scale of very true, true, somewhat true, or not true. It had a total of 28 questions. Section 1 covered topics about how meetings were managed and how members got along. And Section 2 asked about what topics have we covered during PLCs. And the results showed that we were both very familiar with our survey results. They were almost identical. Reading Recovery members rated the questions very true or true on 85% of all questions. First grade team members rated the questions very true or true on 92% of all questions. Each group rated the questions about emotionally charged topics, hard to talk about topics, and disagreements as somewhat true or not true. And when I say disagreements, I mean like, do you feel comfortable voicing your opinion if you don't agree with somebody? So the areas of strength we have in first grade are analyzing instructional practices, analyzing classroom data, strong sense of team attachment, and administering common assessments. And then the areas for weakness were avoiding emotionally charged topics, avoiding difficult topics, determining tasks by consensus of all team members, and dealing with disagreements. So next steps, I need your all's input on this too.
Oh, but can you stop there just a
Yeah.
second? A lot of that is that it's not that you can't deal with disagreements, but it looked like from the first two, if there's things that are really uncomfortable topics.
Yes.
You just.
I don't think it meant we don't care to disagree, because
No.
we don't care at all.
Right,
We
you
don't care,
all
like,
will, yeah.
I don't think that's a good idea, or whatever. We will tell each other that in a respectful way. I think, but it did show that we all that took it did say, I think it just means if you don't agree with something, are you really comfortable with saying, I don't agree with that? When it comes to PLC issues. It's something to work on, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's what
overall,
you use the
I was
data
happy with
for,
it,
to
because
make you a
overall,
stronger team.
I feel like it was very positive.
Mhm.
And I think it validated that, yeah, we do have an effective PLC going on. And just from conversations with members in the classroom that did this same survey, that it was the same, theirs showed the same thing.
Mm.
It is hard to avoid emotionally, we might get in here and be like, what do we got in it? That sometimes is hard to avoid. It's hard to stay focused on what's important, what do we need to do. But my professor, she suggested there's a book called Having Difficult Conversations by Jennifer Abrams. And she said that it was a wonderful book and an easy read. And I thought, I went ahead and added that because I thought that was something I could suggest, that maybe we could look into that. A book study over that to equip us with, equip our team with strategies to have in case something like that was to come up, which I don't think it does very often, but it has a few times. And team members will be invited to, at the end of each PLC, to add input for the next PLC agenda. I was thinking about like SBDM.
Yeah.
We added that on there where, does somebody want to add something to the thing? I thought we can add that to our PLC at the end. Hey, anybody got a suggestion for next week or upcoming? Because that was one that everybody marked was like, oh, I don't know if I always have an input on what.
Everybody feels like
Participant or.
Right, so everybody has, yeah.
You can
Say
even
color.
amend it like we do at the beginning of our meetings, you amend it because maybe something at the time you don't think about, but something comes up and you're like, hey, we need to talk about this.
Yeah.
You can amend it before your meetings and say, is there anything that we want to add to our agenda or change or
Yeah.
that we need to pay more attention to
Mhm.
today, then, and we can move that one to next week
And a
or
lot of times I
something.
think we have to table things because we
Yeah,
run
you
out of
do.
time. because maybe we get emotionally charged about something. But we have to table things sometimes, and so it gets a little,
Starts to
the list
build
gets a
up.
little overwhelming sometimes, but then we get it managed back down. But that's a good idea to have a time for amendments too.
And that
Like,
won't
hey,
take
this
long.
could probably wait, let's take this out, we really need to talk about this week. So I'll add that to my next steps. Instead of amendments. Any other suggestions? Huh?
It makes me wanna change my book, like I chose to do the math book. Now I wanna do the reading book. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna do them both.
Just do both, we have both.
Is that an option?
Well, Whitney's gonna be doing the reading one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's what we were just talking about, because she did the ERT and has done a lot with the purple book. So she's gonna do that reading one. We'll do the math one. We can talk about math. She can bring in the reading and we
Well,
can
you
share
have
their
two
PLCs.
reading here and a map, and then
Right,
Amanda's
and they're
doing
here
math,
in our
so you can
PLCs
have
all
your
the
own
time.
little PLC another day and
Yeah.
talk about,
We already know that book.
Yeah.
Right, we did the training.
Yeah.
You can go on to the next slide. So my reflection for my PLC question was this survey allowed us to, or allowed me to pinpoint our strengths and weaknesses, which I think was good to bring up. You know, it was
well,
interesting.
it shows you things you need to work
Yeah.
on and grow on,
Because
and
I feel
grow
like
in as a team.
we have a good PLC
Yeah.
group, and I feel like the whole school does, but it was interesting, you know, there's always room for improvement.
Mm.
So it was interesting to see that. I love that it gave us a chance to look at next steps for our PLCs, because as lifelong learners, we want to continue to grow. And although we felt like we had successful PLCs, there's always room for improvement, so what I just said is already up there. Doing the survey as a team allowed us to see how closely we were tied. I think that it kind of even made our, you know, one of our strengths was team attachment. I think that it made our team attachment even more, because I feel like we all are on consensus of a lot of things.
Perception, the same perception of your
Yes.
PLCs and the structure and quality of them.
And then next steps, I think, are reachable and attainable. So, and that's it. Thank you all.
For you, Kenna.
We can do a right.
Thank you.